while this channel does primarily focus on retro consoles, we on occasion do take a look at some modern ones. It's no secret that the Steam Deck is an extremely popular PC-based handheld. There's really just a ton to like about it. And the folks over at DeckHD are perhaps giving us even more to like with their high-resolution screen upgrade. This brand new IPS panel not only increases the resolution from 800p to a staggering 1200p, but also improves color accuracy. However, does it live up to all the hype? Well, let's find out. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Tito and welcome to another episode of Retro Renew. Today I have yet another mod to show you for a newer console. It seems like I've been doing a lot of these lately, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So this is the DeckHD Screen mod for the Steam Deck, and while at a quick glance it doesn't look any different from a stock screen that came with the console, there's actually quite a bump up in specs. First, this new screen increases the resolution from its standard 800p all the way up to 1200p. Additionally, DeckHD claims to also improve color accuracy with an increase in sRGB coverage from 67% with the stock screen to 87% with the DeckHD screen. I definitely will be doing a side-by-side comparison of DeckHD to the stock screen, and I really have to give a huge shout out and thank you to my buddy Shank Mods, who let me borrow his personal Steam Deck so that I can do this comparison. Don't worry Shank, I'll get this back to you in one piece, I promise. Alright, so we got a lot to cover in this video, and we'll start by doing a quick unboxing of the DeckHD kit. Then I'll demonstrate how to install it into your Steam Deck console, go over its major features, do a side-by-side comparison of the DeckHD to a stock unit, review the pros and cons, and of course provide you with my overall thoughts. So the DeckHD packaging is pretty nice. There's some branding on top as well as on the sides. Opening up, however, reveals some foam which protects the DeckHD panel below. We'll go ahead and set this aside for now and come back to it in just a moment. Underneath some more foam and additional packaging, we have a set of tools which pretty much has everything you need for the installation. They also include some replacement adhesive strips for installing our new panel. And lastly, they include this LCD ribbon cable, which I'm assuming is different from the stock one, even though it does look identical. Anyway, let's take a look at the DeckHD display, and upon initial inspection, it pretty much looks exactly the same as a stock unit. Around back, we have the part number, along with the connector, which again is in the same location as the stock unit. Here, you can see that they also incorporated the small window for the integrated light sensor. And that's it, that's everything you'll find in the package. Now before we get into the installation portion of the video, let's quickly talk about the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. If you have an idea for a new mod or want to assemble an open source project, PCBWay provides you with the tools to make them a reality. From 3D printing services in an array of materials, all the way to other services like CNC machining, injection molding, and of course PCB and flex ribbon fabrication. So when it comes to taking your retro gaming mods to the next level, PCBWay is the place to make that happen. Check out the link in the description for PCBWay to get $5 off your first order, and again, a huge thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. Alright, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and install the DeckHD. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is prep the Steam Deck to get it ready for the mod. And to do that, we're going to put the console into battery storage mode, which ensures that we don't accidentally switch the console on during disassembly. So to do this, press and hold the power and volume up button at the same time, which should bring you to the BIOS settings screen. From here, go to the setup utility in the bottom right. Then toggle down to the power menu. And here you should see the battery storage mode option, so select it and press yes. The console will shut down and you'll see that you are unable to turn it back on with the power button, which is exactly what we want. So now that we're prepped, go ahead and place the Steam Deck into its case face down, as this provides a great way of holding the console flat on the table and not have the analog sticks get in the way. Now we can go ahead and start to disassemble the unit by first removing the 6 exterior screws. You'll definitely want to note where each screw goes and keep them organized since they're all different sizes. I like using this iFixit magnetic mat to assist in this process. With the screws out, gently pry the console open using a spudger, starting near the triggers and working your way around. Once inside, we'll start to remove this metal plate. My console appears to be a slightly newer design, as some of the older Steam Decks have a hidden screw under some tape, so don't be surprised if your unit looks a bit different from mine. Now we can unplug the battery from the motherboard. Next, let's remove the SSD. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this sticker here, which sort of binds the heatsink and fan assembly together. You may need to use a hairdryer to loosen the adhesive because it's pretty tough. Once the heatsink is lifted out, go ahead and disconnect the fan, as well as this connector here, which is for the speaker. Under this plastic cover, disconnect the 2 antennas. Next, locate the LCD ribbon cable connector. Lift the bail and then disconnect it. Here, do the same with the controller ribbon cable. Now we can begin to unfasten the screws securing the motherboard. And again, disconnect this ribbon cable here. Now on older Steam Deck consoles, this connector is located behind the board. So if your unit is like this, be careful when removing the motherboard. Anyway, with the cable removed, we can now lift out the motherboard. Next, we need to disconnect the LCD ribbon cable. The DeckHD kit comes with a replacement, so we'll remove this one. So once the cable is removed, go ahead and temporarily place the rear shell back onto the console and then flip the unit over. It is now time for the hard part, removing the LCD panel. For this, I'm using my iFixit eye opener heating pad, which will help loosen the adhesive holding the display. You can also use a hairdryer, but please do be careful as excessive heat could damage the display. After adequately heating the top part of the display, use the included suction cup to attempt to lift it up ever so slightly so that you can insert the included pick underneath the panel. Once the pick is in, slide it across to sever the adhesive. Then rinse and repeat on the 3 remaining sides of the display. After eventually getting the old display out, you'll see that there is some leftover adhesive residue that we need to remove. To do this, I used my plastic spudger to scrape off as much as I can, followed by some isopropyl alcohol on a Q-tip to try to remove the rest, and then repeat the process until the whole thing is clean. Eventually, you'll want to end up with something like this. Next, grab the included adhesive strips and apply them to the edges. The thicker strip goes here on the left side, and the others are cut to size, so just match them up with the other sides. Be sure to use the 2 strips on the top section to avoid covering the light sensor in the middle. Then remove the adhesive cover on each strip. Now before placing the new DeckHD panel, ensure that the connector is aligned properly with the opening on the Steam Deck console as shown here. And then very carefully place the panel onto the Steam Deck. I would definitely store your older panel in the DeckHD packaging in case you ever need it in the future. Great, so now that the DeckHD is installed, flip the console back over and begin to reassemble it in reverse order. Since we took the heatsink off, you'll definitely want to clean off the old thermal paste on the APU as well as the heatsink and apply new paste. Awesome, so now that the Steam Deck is fully reassembled, we need to plug it into power to get the unit out of battery storage mode. And once it powers on, you'll notice that it looks a bit messed up, but don't worry, we'll fix that right now. So go ahead and open the settings menu, then go all the way down to developer and enable the option called Show Advanced Update Channel. After selecting that, go all the way up to System Settings and change the Steam Deck Client Update channel to Steam Deck Beta. This will cause the unit to restart and potentially install an update. Then, after that completes, go back to the System Settings menu and change the OS Update channel to Main. Then, again apply any system updates until the Steam Deck is fully up to date. Once the unit restarts, enter into desktop mode. You'll need to go to the DeckHD website and download the BIOS update script. Follow the screens on their webpage to get the Steam Deck ready to update the BIOS. I'll have it linked in the video description below. So once you get the script executable transferred to your Steam Deck desktop, go ahead and run it. After it completes, the Steam Deck will restart, and if all went well, you'll be greeted with a DeckHD logo, and after a few moments, you'll get launched into SteamOS. Once that happens, you're good to go. The DeckHD has been fully installed. Now, real quick, I have to give a huge shout out to a guy named Akshayan from the DeckHD Discord server because he really helped me troubleshoot the BIOS upgrade process and get it up and running. So definitely a big thank you. Now, longtime viewers of the channel know I like a good screen mod, whether it's a Game Boy, Game Gear, or even the Steam Deck. I have to say that I'm impressed with the screen and I'm really enjoying it. Anyway, now let's go over all the features that DeckHD has to offer. So obviously the biggest feature is the increase in resolution, and while it's not super noticeable here on screen, you can definitely notice it in person. Taking a closer look, here's a side-by-side of the menu screen in Final Fantasy VII Remake. You can see the finer details on Cloud's face, especially his hair. It just looks sharper, while the original screen is a bit more pixelated. Also note that this is only 1080p since the game doesn't support a 1200p resolution. Now, in order to use higher resolutions, you need to go to the settings for each game within SteamOS and make the adjustments under Properties. It's a bit inconvenient to have to do this for each game, but you do get used to it. DeckHD also comes with an anti-reflective coating, which does its job. It is a feature that's found on the more expensive variants of the Steam Deck, so it is cool that DeckHD incorporates this feature. If we take a look at the specs on the DeckHD website, it also claims to improve touch responsiveness, which I am a bit skeptical of because to me, it feels about the same. Although the anti-reflective coating does make your finger move across the screen a bit easier. And the last feature, which again is showed on their website, is the increase in sRGB coverage. Now, a YouTuber by the name of Taki Udon did a fantastic deep dive into the actual color range of the DeckHD display, as well as the original one. I definitely recommend checking out his video. Basically, he said DeckHD does indeed support the 87% gamut coverage, so at least we know they're not false advertising. But again, I definitely check out Taki's video. I'll have it linked down below. Anyway, now let's see what it's like to game on a Steam Deck that's been modded with DeckHD. Is there any impact to performance? So for this, I chose a couple games that have built-in benchmarks so that we can do repeatable experiments and see what the overall impact on performance is when running resolutions supported by DeckHD. The first game I wanted to check out is Cyberpunk 2077. Running this game on Shank's unmodded Steam Deck, we see that the game looks great with a pretty steady 30 frames per second. However, when we get to my DeckHD modded console, the frames drop to around the mid-20s, and fluctuate around there for the duration of the test. When the test completes, we can see the results and pretty much it's as expected. Pushing all those additional pixels results in a performance hit. The stock Steam Deck was running an average of nearly 30 frames per second, while the DeckHD was about 26. This is roughly an 11% decrease in performance. Let's go ahead and take a look at another game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Again, looking at the unmodded console running 800p, we see that the frame rates are pretty high, ranging anywhere between 40 and 60 frames per second. And with Steam Deck, that performance does drop off. Taking a look at the final performance metrics, we see that the unmodded system averages about 54 FPS, while the DeckHD dropped to about 42. This is roughly a 22% drop in performance. So as expected, yes, running games at higher resolutions ding performance. This really shouldn't be a surprise, but it is definitely something to consider if you plan on running a DeckHD Screen mod on your Steam Deck. Now, one thing to note is that for whatever reason, my camera is adding like this greenish bluish hue to the image. They really do not look like this in person. Both screens look fantastic in real life, and it just so happens that my camera is not truly representing how they actually look. It's just something I want you to be aware of. So with these results, one thing you need to ask yourself is the higher resolution and increased sRGB range coverage worth the performance impact? And with that, now that we've seen how the DeckHD performs, let's take a look at the pros and cons. Starting with the pros, I think this panel looks beautiful. That's not to say that the stock screen looks bad, but the increased resolution does make games look that extra bit crispier. Also, I really like how the higher resolution makes the SteamOS user interface look. There's more stuff that can be shown on screen, and I like the smaller text. It makes the overall device look a bit more premium. This is of course a personal preference, and some folks might like the older, larger sized UI. You can adjust this to your liking following the instructions on the DeckHD website, but for me, the default higher resolution setting looks perfect. Now for the price, I think DeckHD is a great option. It's a fantastic panel and arguably better than stock. Plus the benefits such as better color accuracy and higher resolution, it could be considered a better deal since the price of a new stock Steam Deck screen isn't that much cheaper. Another pro was the installation. I didn't think it was that bad. With the included tools, I think that a lot of people will be able to do this mod if they take their time. However, the same can't be said about the BIOS update, which actually brings me to the cons of this mod. So while I found the installation of the screen itself to be pretty straightforward, getting the BIOS script to run proved to be quite the challenge. The instructions on the website weren't the clearest, and thankfully the folks over on the DeckHD Discord server were very helpful. But regardless, I think it would be great if there was a better, more straightforward way of getting the BIOS updated. It would be amazing if Valve would include this in their future builds of SteamOS, but that may never happen. Additionally, support for this screen into the future is questionable. The makers of DeckHD have said that they will open source the BIOS, which should help ensure support, but as Steam Deck gets updated periodically, making sure that the DeckHD BIOS follows suit is unknown. Another con is that running the screen at its highest supported resolution will impact performance. If your preference is higher frame rates, or if you're fine with the way the stock screen looks, you may want to reconsider getting this mod. Now, something that I didn't test was battery performance. According to their website, DeckHD will consume a bit more power. So if you're concerned with battery life, lowering the resolution back to 800p should help with that and get it back to somewhere around where the stock battery life is. That is according to the DeckHD website, so you should take that metric with a grain of salt. But honestly, besides that, I do think this is a solid mod. It's certainly not for everyone, but for those who want to push more pixels and expand the sRGB coverage, this may be the mod for you. So if this sounds like something you want to pick up, I was able to convince the folks over at DeckHD to hook you all up with a discount. It's not much, but if you use the coupon code Nacho at checkout, you'll save 5%. So again, that's Nacho without a space. Anyway guys, there you have it. The DeckHD high-resolution screen mod for the Steam Deck. A mod that definitely has some very cool features, but also a few setbacks. If you enjoyed this video, I really think you'll like this one here, so check it out. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.